everyone, it's Kaylee and welcome back to Hippie in a Suit, where I talk about sustainability because I dream of a world where billionaires are taxed rather than us hoping that they will donate to charity.
Cool!
All right, it's the holiday season, which of course is a time of generosity, so I thought I would do a quick video about charitable giving. Before I dive in, I do want to make a disclaimer that this video is in no way saying that you should be giving to charity, and I'm not presuming anyone's individual means or abilities. Many people, of course, actually need help and support and are the recipients of charitable giving, so in no way is this blanket advice for everyone. But I thought it may be helpful for people to understand a little bit more about charitable giving, and if it is something that you choose to do, give you a few models around choosing how much to give. So that's going to be the structure of this video. I'll go over some basic facts and stats about charitable giving, and then I will present 4 models that may help you decide how much you would like to give to a charity so that perhaps you are a little bit more deliberate in your thinking around this particular topic. Let's go. So first, let's start by defining charitable giving. According to Investopedia, a charitable donation is a gift of cash or property made to a nonprofit organization to help it accomplish its goals, for which the donor receives nothing of value in return. Now, this part is quite key because it's not a transaction, it's not a purchase or an investment that could later garner return. It is a gift. So it does not come with strings attached or something that the organization must do for the donor. Now, there are a few nuances I want to make here just so it's clear. The definition mentions nothing of value in return, but many donations, of course, are subject to tax deductions. A lot, but not all charitable giving does come with tax benefits depending on the jurisdiction you live in, and many people would argue that tax breaks are of value. So it's not necessarily nothing of value, but it is worth noting that that's essentially the extent of it. The other nuance I wanted to make is around the idea of it being no strings attached. Technically, when you give to a charity, you don't have any say in how they spend that money. You're supporting their mission, and usually if they are a registered charity, the government is overseeing how they are spending that money and spending it in ways that were promised. And most countries have very strict charity law and regulation, so that's how it works. However, in practice, charities and not-for-profits do try and deliver what their donors are expecting of them because they want to be good stewards of the money and they want those donors to support them again in the future. So it is no strings attached, but there also is a sense of responsibility when it comes to charitable giving. Now, let's look at a few stats. I couldn't find global figures on how much money total is given across the globe to charity, but I did find what's called the World Giving Index that compares how charitable different countries are based on large surveys of the population and their giving behaviors. In 2020, 1 in 10 adults around the world donated money to charity. Interestingly, and perhaps not surprisingly, 2020 saw a huge increase in charitable giving because of the pandemic, somewhere between 5 and 15%, depending on what country you're in. The top 10 countries with the most individual donors, so the largest percentage of people who gave money, were Indonesia, Myanmar, Australia, Thailand, Kosovo, the UK, Iceland, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Bahrain. In Indonesia, for example, 1 in 10 adults donated to charity versus the 1 in 10 global average. Most of the statistics I could find about the actual amount of money given to charity were in the US. In the US, in 2020, the total charitable giving, including that done by individuals, corporates, and foundations, was $471 billion, or approximately 2.3% of gross domestic product, or GDP. $324 billion of that was given by individuals, equaling approximately 69% of total giving. The majority of charitable dollars in the US went to religious causes, education, and human services. Now, there are a lot of ways that people decide how much money they do want to give to charity. It may be totally sporadic and based on how much they can afford at any given time, or they may set a goal based on some sort of mental model or objective that they have. Here are 4 models that I think might be helpful for you to consider that range in percentage. First is copying the global ODA target. ODA is short for Official Development Assistance, and the global community together has determined that rich countries should give at least 0.7% of their gross national income. If this is what we expect of our governments to live up to, it may be a good goal for individuals to consider as well, and it is quite modest. For someone who makes $50,000 per year, this would work out to $350 per year, or approximately $30 per month. A second model is following guidelines set forth by different religions. In Islam, zakat asks Muslims to give 2.5% of annual wealth to charity. Using the $50K per year figure, this would equate to approximately $1,250 per year, or roughly $105 per month. In Christianity and Judaism, there's an ancient tradition of a tithe, which is equal to 10% of income. This is quite substantial and would come in about $5K a year, or roughly $415 per month for someone who makes $50,000 per year. A third model is to look at the global or country average of giving and matching that. You can search for your country's individual statistics, but globally the average is estimated to be somewhere between 2 to 5% of gross annual income. 2% would be $1,000 per year for a $50K salary, and 5% would be $2,500 per year. And finally, you may want to try for the 1% club, which is a common goal for many corporate organizations. This is also the most common advice that I found on the internet about where to start with your giving, because it's an easy number to remember and work with. This would work out to $500 per year, or roughly $40 a month on a $50K salary. So as you can see, there are many models that you could use, and there's no right answer, so of course, just do what makes sense for you. Having said that, if giving is something you have the ability and desire to do, I think it really is a good idea to pick a model or a percentage so that you can be a bit more deliberate with your giving. You know how it goes, time runs away on us, and we may just forget altogether unless we really put some thought and intention into it. Here are a few last tips I found in my research that I thought you may also want to consider when giving. For most charities, having recurring monthly donations is preferable to one-time donations because they can plan better for the future. So if you really like a charity, you may want to consider signing up for a monthly $10 to $20 donation as opposed to a single $100 or $200 donation at the end of the year. You may also want to define certain goals within the amount you've determined for your total giving. For example, perhaps you want to give 80% to organizations that align with your long-term goals. Perhaps you're passionate about gender equality or racial equity or climate change, so you pick a few organizations that you would like to support all year round. You could then save 20% of your annual giving budget for emergency situations that arise. For example, when there is a natural disaster or some sort of acute need caused by policy or whatever else it may be. I remember giving extra to women's reproductive rights charities when the US declared in 2017 that it would be cutting all support to those types of organizations. That's an example of something that might arise that's not foreseen. Another great way to mobilize money for charity is through an activity where your friends and family can contribute to a charity and support you at the same time. When I ran my first and only marathon, I raised money for Plan International. It was an extra feeling of satisfaction to complete the race and know a deserving charity was also getting some very well-deserved donations. And recently, a good friend of mine got married and in lieu of a registry asked for people to make donations to an organization of their choice, which I thought was a really cool idea. And finally, I read a very interesting point that I actually thought was a little bit counterintuitive, and that was that it can really help to give publicly. It may feel a little icky letting people know that you're giving to charity, but it actually can cause good social momentum, which can in turn encourage others to give. One of my favorite examples of this is when Dan Levy, the star from Schitt's Creek, publicly supported and matched donations to an Indigenous education program at a Canadian university. I mean, he was like, I'll match anything that's up to 25 grand, but even just telling people he's donating there would have an impact. And you don't have to be a celebrity or have a massive following to point people towards great organizations and programs. So don't be scared to tell people when you are donating. And that's it. That's all I have for you. As always, I have prepared a blog post that explains the topic in writing and provides links to my research and resources where you can learn more. I've also included a few organizations that you may choose to follow or support. This time, I chose organizations I've been supporting for years to give you some new ideas of where you might want to give charitable giving. But again, stick with what aligns with your values and what you want to see happen in the world. As always, thank you so much for being here. I wish you all an amazing end of 2021 and an incredible holiday season no matter what you celebrate. I really have felt so lucky for all the support I've received on the channel this year, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you for watching. See you in the next one, and until then, keep fighting the good fight. Bye!